Holbrook. Thank you for joining me today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Look at that background. Are you already in Telluride, ready for the
Yeah,
festival?
I know it's a little exciting. Sometimes I go in the witness protection program and disappear. But yeah, we've got mountains right there, ski area here, Bear Creek there, and the town of Telluride right below me. We're right in town, but just up on the north side if people know this town.
It's great. We're here today to speak about the Original Thinkers Festival, which is your festival, your baby. Before I get into it, do you know what geomancy is?
I know the word, but I don't know exactly what
It talks about, location.
Mhm.
Like the pyramids had a special geomancy with altitude and longitude and alignment. And I was wondering, is there anything special about the alignment in Telluride? Why
There,
do you find your heart there?
there is so much that's special about it on so many levels. And I was told by people in Ojai, that Ojai and Telluride are one of, I think, 9 valleys that run east-west in the entire world, which doesn't quite make sense given how big the world is, but we're really aligned very much on a north, south, east, west, so the sun is coming right into town. It's a sort of miracle of geomancy, is that the word that you use?
That's what I call it,
Such
geomancy.
a beautiful word, and you really become nestled in this little box canyon. What's neat is if you go to the east there, it just ends. It stops. There are some really rugged roads you can get out, but otherwise, we're in this box canyon, which has its upsides and its downsides, and people talk about having valley fever, that I've been in the valley too long, and I feel that. If I haven't gone up in the mountains, which I do a lot, or left town, which I do a fair amount, I'll like, "Oh, wait, I need a bigger horizon," because, right there is a wall of mountains, right there is a wall of mountains, and right there is a wall of mountains, and we go out to the west, and we can kinda get out, but it's really unusual. Anybody that's been here has been kinda blown away by what this place is. We're also at 9,000 feet, so
Yeah. Not everyone can handle it.
not everyone can handle it. It's an unusual thing to see, and people come here like, "I love it here so much, I feel terrible." I was like, "You'll feel better. Just give it a little time, and you'll get yourself right."
It's a great place to rediscover one's soul in a time where so many people seem to be losing theirs.
That's a lovely way to put it. One of the things that we find here is we have lots of festivals. Original Thinkers is just one of them, but we also have Blues and Brews, Bluegrass, 3 film festivals, so much going on here, and the town will be packed, Main Street will be flooded, so much going on, and then I'll get out on a trail, I'm like, "Oh, I've got this all to myself." You know,
Yeah, you're reconnecting to nature.
it's so easy to do here, and within a small town, we've got vast amounts of wilderness, and so it's not so hard to get away from it, and it's funny, I went for a long bike ride the other day with a friend, and we were surprised at how many people were here and that were on the trail because usually, and these are beautiful trails, it's not like you're in Park City or Front Range of Colorado.
Right.
We're so remote, we're 6.5 hours from Denver, 6.5 hours from Salt Lake City, and so the city's hard to get here, which is part of its charm, and
It really is.
you've been,
That second puddle jumper is a killer.
oh my goodness.
Oh boy, does it kill me. That second flight,
It's
the small one.
yeah, we when we go out of the country, I'll set a timer to come back from somewhere, and if I can get, like, from Europe home in less than 24 hours, that's a win. I used
I
to live
feel
in New
about
York, I'm like,
California.
"Oh, I'd be
Yeah.
home," but no, I've got 2.
5 hours, right.
But,
So
it's a small price to pay for all the beauty and really, like you said, there's so much going on in the world, it's so intense. Being in a little bit of a recluse has a lot of power and a lot of beauty and a lot of, it's funny to be isolated like we are, but it really, it lifts us up in a
agreed.
special way.
Well, you're isolated, but you're also with like-minded people, so it's a different kind of isolation.
That's true. No, absolutely, it
Um,
is, and that helps, and it's nice to be in a place where you wake up and it kind of astonishes you all the time, that the different weather, what's happening to the sunset, what's happening at the alpenglow, what's happening with any of it, and
Well, look, every day is another shocking headline, right?
it
And it leaves an energetic imprint on our souls and our mind, and you're able to cleanse yourself from that truth or from that reality that most of us are going through, and it must be beautiful.
it is, and I think that what you just said, that notion of a every day is another headline that's an assault. Every day is another thing of saying, "Oh my god, I can't believe this is happening," and Original Thinkers is really designed this year, and we've been doing this for 8 years, and it's designed to say this year, to say, "Let's help with that. Let's help what's happening to things we don't know, our head, our wiring, our psychic load, whatever it is that we're carrying, it's weaving its way into our bodies, and the goal with Original Thinkers this year is to help us get it out, is to help us say, "There are other ways to process the chaos, there are other ways," and I wanna be clear, that doesn't mean to put our head in the sand, that doesn't mean to pretend
Of
it's not
course
happening,
not.
but it is to say we have, a responsibility to ourselves to take good care of ourselves. We have a responsibility for, our hearts, for our families, for our friends to say, "We can't let this constant assault destroy who we are."
So the festival runs the 2nd through the 5th?
The 2nd through the 5th, it starts Thursday, October 2nd with an opening dinner, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we have programming throughout the day, and really, I think, unusual programming. We're trying to blend
Oh, yeah,
things.
there's some great, great, interesting things. I mean, I know you have this woman who works with iboga, which, I did and saved my life.
Oh my goodness, I wanna
Um,
hear about that. Can you share just a little?
of course, I was suffering an enormous amount of OCD, but I didn't know, and I'd gone to doctors all over the world, and they thought it was neurological. And I went to Mexico, and I spent 6 days down there because you have to get the EKGs and whatnot. And I one night, 15 hours,
Yeah.
I did it with 5 other people. 2 people had become addicted to heroin. They'd worked on the, windmills, they had injuries. One woman was a trauma nurse in England. She'd never done a drug in her life, nothing. She'd never smoked weed. And I mean, talk about brave.
Wow.
And then me.
Yeah.
And, I was scratching my arms to the degree where there was no flesh on them, so they were wrapped, and,
Oh my.
I couldn't function. And one night, and I am telling you, all of us were cured. Never ever the same. And it was a one-time hit.
One time hit 15
So,
hours.
one-time hit. And, I've done ayahuasca, which it's fine. This is another level.
That's what I've understood. I've never,
This is another level. The other thing that's interesting about some of these psychedelics, actually most of these psychedelics, is that if you don't want to have to go through the experience, I mean, you have to go through it, right? Because that's the only way, like you have to go through.
the only way out is through.
Through. Right. The only way out is through. And so what you can do, I'm a meditator, I'm a yogi. You can put yourself in a self trance so that you're not necessarily aware of what you're seeing, but it's still impacting you.
Mhm.
And so that's what I did because it got very dark.
Cool.
It got dark pretty damn
I
fast.
bet. I bet, but then on the other side of it, there was light?
Right. The other side was light.
Oh,
And that's why I always tell people about psychedelics. If you feel called, I urge you to follow that calling. And if you don't, carry on.
carry on. But
Carry
I
on.
think that's right. I talk to people about that kind of work here, and it's interesting how many people have said to me, "You know, I was looking for something. I was," and I'm open to receive, and that's really critical when people say, "Okay, wait, I can, step into this," because it takes bravery. It takes a lot of things, but I think, that being open to receive is the key thing, and then
I would assume that most people that are at the original thinkers are open to receiving. We're all receptors, right? We all were transmitters. We can receive and then we send out signals. And those signals can be in the form of vibration, they can be in the form, obviously, frequency, information. But I look at us all as these little generators, individual generators. But I would think that the ones that you attract are pretty open minded.
I think that's right. I mean, original thinkers, just by its name, by its conception, is that we can open our minds to new ideas, to new experiences. And I think one of the important things that we try to convey with original thinkers is our tagline, which is wordy but works, which is we are all original thinkers when we put our minds to it. And I think that's really important. And a shorter way of doing that is saying ideas for all. I talk about that. Like I think, look, respect for TED, respect for the Aspen Ideas Festival, respect for these things that have grown. But I also know to get in there is going to cost $10,000. To have that experience is going to be prohibitive for most people. And so for us,
Right.
especially here in Telluride, I want our people to be able to
Open the doors, man. Get more people in. That's how you really affect
and
change.
that we can access it, that we can say, "This isn't." And I'll add something else about original thinkers that I think is important, which is we look at a lot at the intersection of ideas and our stories, idea and story, and how do those 2 come together? Because when we hear a story, it's a story with a beginning, middle, and end. Sometimes people are intimidated by ideas. People say, "Oh, I didn't do well in school," or "I don't have a PhD," or "I don't read The New Yorker," or whatever, and I say, "That doesn't matter. You like, what's your favorite story? Okay, we've got stories here." And everybody who comes to this festival has a story to share, and within that story is a pretty big idea, and they're human ideas. They're and it's funny, we're doing something about around artificial intelligence, which I can talk about, but I look at much more as that we're not s TED is gonna do a whole weekend on our AI. Fine, let them have it. I wanna talk about emotional intelligence. I wanna understand, and this goes to what we were talking before about this assault on our constitution, on our country, on our values.
Constant barrage.
It's so overwhelming. And I grew up in DC. I lived in New York. I know a lot of really, really smart people who write for major publications, who could contextualize this for us, who could tell us that it's actually way worse than we think it is. I don't think that's helpful for this year. What I want for original thinkers is for us, how can we feel better about this? How can we keep ourselves upright? How can we keep ourselves ready? How can we keep ourselves healthy? And that's super important.
And fortitude. Fortitude.
Fortitude is essential. Coping methods are essential. Activism
Essential.
is essential. Gathering together, human contact is essential, and I can't wait till we meet in person. But I really mean that we can reach that if we open our minds to it, and that's what original thinkers is. And so when people tell me, "Oh, I'm sort of intimidated by these ideas," I'm like, "No, no, no, they're about us. They're human stories, and these ideas, emanate from our own lives and our own achievements, and within that, wow, what power."
So I'd like you to tell me a few things. Number one, um, a little bit about the lineup. And number two, is it too late for people to get in?
It's not too late for people to get in. We will sell out at some point, but if, uh, if we're still selling passes, they can still come. We've got a couple more spaces. This is small and cozy and intimate, and it's by design.
Right. Intimate.
And I've been to Sundance. I go to the Telluride Film Festival. I ran a festival called Mountain Film in Telluride Mountain Film for a decade. Those are like you get in the slot, and it's like the pinball machine pulls back, and you and you jump all around.
You're standing on lines and you're looking at your map and you're going from
Line,
plate.
and I gotta eat
So,
this
yeah.
to go get across town to catch the bus to this, and you cr
And they're panning. You create this
exactly, that like, "Oh," and you cannot enliven and exhaust me. I just want enliven part, and so we do what we call single span programming, meaning if something's happening, that's the only thing happening, so come do it. You're gonna get in, you're not gonna have to wait in line, you're not gonna have to worry if you're. For other festivals, you wait in line for more than an hour wondering if you're gonna get in, and then you might be that person that's, "Oh, sorry, we're sold out," and that sucks. It just sucks, and I get the reality of it, and for me, I want this and I love our official tagline is, "We are all original thinkers when we put our minds to it." Unofficial tagline, "Ideas for all." Unofficial tagline, "Smart, fun, and chill." Chill.
Love it. I love it because that's how I think of myself, by the way.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to be, "Oh, okay, wait, I'm thinking about things, but I'm open to having fun and to connecting, but I'm also not gonna get worked up," and so that's what we're trying to achieve with this festival, and I think, our lineup reflects that we have people are saying, "Let's breathe. Let's let's spend time, in ecstatic dance. Let's spend time with a horse. Let's spend time talking to people about the power of psychedelics. Let's spend time." We have the wonderful actor Matthew Modine is coming to the festival.
I saw that.
Now, I just rewatched, Full Metal Jacket the other night. My god, it's so intense and so astonishing, and Matthew, that film was made.
Was Charlie Sheen in that with him?
Wasn't he was in, I think, which one was he? Was he in?
I thought it was from those.
But it's funny because of the actors, Vincent D'Onofrio's in it, a couple of other actors, but really, Matthew's the only one who's continued to work
Right,
steadily.
he's a huge star.
But
Yeah, of
what's
course.
fascinating about Matthew is again, the way he thinks. He's a terrific actor, but he's also creating in a way that not many people know, and I think there are the actors who say, "Wait, I'm gonna become a director." There are the actors who say, like Mark Ruffalo, "I'm gonna become an advocate." What Matthew's doing is working on a very sort of quiet but powerful stage of saying, "Wait, I have this." He's been in Stranger Things, he's worked with Oliver Stone, with, Jonathan Demme, he was in Oppenheimer. However, he's also, been making these short films, documentaries, and other short narratives that are really saying something, and he's in town now, which is really fun. He came to Telluride a bit early because of his travel schedule, and he said, "Look, we're making these movies because I believe that there's something to say, and I believe there's an audience that wants to hear this," and he's right. Of course, the problem is there's no real fiscal model, a financial model, and as someone who's made short documentaries, you're doing them because you're passionate about something. You're doing them these are labors of love. They're not something you're saying, "Oh, wow, here's how I get residuals. Where's
The
the back end."
the acting finances his enjoyment, which is his creative outlet of the documentary.
And it allows him to to express a voice that really is that of an original thinker. And the way he approaches the world with decency and thoughtfulness and just watching him walk around our town and people being like, "Wait, is that guy?" And the way he interacts with people so easily and kindly, but engages. It's not just like, "Oh, sure, I'll take a picture. Tell me your name. Tell me," and I think kindness really matters now more than ever when we see the sort of profane nature of what this country's become in so many ways. That here's a guy who's old-fashioned in a way with brand new ideas, and so it's been really fun to see that up close, and I think our audience is just gonna be not only just like, "Oh, charmed by him," because he is, but they're also gonna be w 3 days later, 3 weeks later saying, "Wait, that film, that one six-minute short got me thinking, it got lodged in me in a way that is gonna affect the way I see the world," and
Where it's a ripple effect. There is always that ripple
well, and
effect.
funnily enough, he made a series of shorts, and we're not playing them because we're going with a sort of different theory called the ripple effect. That was I
Not
think
true.
that's the title, I have to look it up, but
That's called alignment if I've ever
yeah,
heard it.
because this man is an environmentalist, he's a human rights advocate, but he's also saying, "Think a bit, think a little bit for yourself and stand on those principles and believe in these ideas we're believing in, that he's it's gonna be great, and I'm really, grateful that he's made this trip, as we were saying earlier, it's not easy to get here, and the man has a lot going on, but he was willing to come, and it doesn't help that it doesn't hurt that out there, where all the we can show him some stuff.
But you've got lots of interesting things going on. I mean, I'm an equestrian, so obviously the equine therapy fascinates me. Um, you have something going on Black and Indigenous, like liberation, and something to this, like this, like histories of Blacks and American enslavement. Did you have something like that
No,
going on?
not on that, but
Am I
the
making that
equine
up?
therapy is really exciting because it's a woman named Erin Kane who lives here, who's a, lovely and longtime, horse person, and you like you, and the
Yeah.
therapy is all ground-based. It's all and the horses are all wild Mustangs that were said to be
That was the thing that
that they're
fascinated me most. They're not old hunters that have been retired and are now going into
no,
equine
and these
therapy. The Mustang aspect is absolutely
fascinating,
fascinating.
and these horses have had their own trauma. These horses have known what it's like to be threatened, and they've known what it's like to be scared, and they've known what it's like and so the horses have their own history, and so that horse-human bridge, that relationship is really powerful, and Aaron says that the horses, they don't care what car you showed up in, they don't care. They just wanna know that alignment word you used earlier is really there, and my mother, who's 83, is coming out to the festival, which I'm really excited about, and I said, "Mom, I signed you up for the equine therapy," and she said, I was horses scare me," and I said, "That's why I signed you up for it," and
And they can sense the fear. Isn't that interesting? They can sense your heartbeat 50
oh, they
yards
know
away,
it.
which is why for professional equestrians and jumpers, you really have to be in a very meditative state in order for these horses to respond because they do respond to the fear.
They do.
And it scares them, like, right, you're supposed to be their fearless leader. So if they sense that anything's off, they start to make their own decisions, which is
Well,
not what you
exactly,
want.
and I think on the ground everybody's eye to eye, everybody and so I've never done it. I'm so happy we're doing this, and I think it's again, I keep on coming back, like, let's be a little less crazy in a completely crazy world, and that's actually the name of one of our talks, and we have this wonderful woman named Kate Woodsum who's coming out, who was formerly with the Washington Post, who took the buyout of the Washington Post, who covered January 6th and the insurrection there and was actually surrounded by rioters and people who, "Oh, you're with the mainstream media?" And she thought she was gonna get lynched. She was terrified. Here was this woman, with a camera with a clear press thing on it, and that the reverberations of that incident really stayed with her, and the Washington Post, how do I put it, was not there for her. They're like, "Okay, yeah, go talk to HR," but they didn't really understand what had happened, and so she said
That's not surprising.
exactly. So she said, "Wait, we've got this collapse. We've got this thing that we've been talking about this whole session of that's happening to our heart and to our head and to our liver and to our all the things." And she said, "I can examine it." And she started a thing called Invisible Threads. And it's again the intersection of mental health and the collapse of democracy. And so as we say, here is something else that is completely outrageous that never would have happened except in an insane authoritarian regime, which we are living in this country. Wow, that's doing something to my equilibrium. That's doing something to my whole system. How can we regulate it? Something that's trying to dysregulate us, trying to mess us up in so many ways, intentionally, by the way.
I think that's the entire
Right.
invention.
That's exactly.
It's
This
just like
really what I saw in the New York Times from somebody within the administration who works in the White House is so you have to understand what we look at this as all out war all the time. These are the people who are running our country all out against the citizens of the United States. So when we know that's
and in addition, the dis-ease of it all creates disease within us. I mean, the body mind connection
The
cannot be
pile of,
denied.
all the things that are happening. So Kate's full focus, which I really love, is to say, how can we, um, do right by ourselves? Do You're a meditator, to do the things to say, wait. And of course, the psychedelic space is its own space to say, okay, wait, there's another plane that we can access that isn't this one, that helps us when we come back to this one to know that that's out there. And the horses know this, and the horses don't want any part of this administration. And everything we're working towards is to say there's a way to help ourselves. There's a way to be kinder and better to ourselves. There's a way for us to find that, oh, and that might be ecstatic dance, which we're doing. That might be a talk that we're doing. That might be all of it, and that's the idea, is collectively we can.
Yeah, it's beauty born of
That's
destruction.
right. No, that's right. It's that's exactly right. And I feel we can do that. I feel that we can be those people who, as original thinkers, to take this on in a way that says, "It doesn't have to be like this," oh, not only this, I got you were together, and wait, that person, and hey, we could be arm in arm. And we can be peaceful, we can be loving, we can be an old professor of mine said this about the films I made, that they were hopeful but not naive. And I don't wanna be naive, I don't wanna think like, "Oh, okay, there's not crazy shit happening out there." I wanna be hopeful and say,
Yeah, but
You and me together, along with some other people we know and love, we can find a space where we're gonna be okay."
well, there is hope because there's so many different timelines occurring at once, and if enough of us, you know, put our energy into shifting timelines, we can. So nothing is ever
No.
all disaster. It can be changed at any time. We just need to create universal
Oh, yeah.
consciousness. And that means government consciousness, which is probably the hardest, but I mean, it's certainly
The
underway.
first, film I ever made was with the great director Richard Linklater, and I produced it. It was called Live from Shiva's Dance Floor,
Oh, wow.
and it was this wonderful short starring this brilliant guy named Speed Levitch, and it was basically a tour guide of Lower Manhattan after 9/11, imagining what could be, and the tagline for that film was, "Meet me at the corner of creation and destruction," which, of course, Shiva is that, and that's
Of
the key
course.
thing, and I think, okay, as we see things destroyed, what do we wanna create? And I wanna create something with you and with your people and with with my people and our people, and we create something that has beauty and intention, and that can be way better than what was.
Yes, it's our modern day Bhagavad Gita, there we go. And I am really excited for this. This sounds fascinating. Um, Last year I was meant to go with a mutual friend of ours, Lisa, who I think is an incredible healer. And we have so many friends in common, which is another thing that's
Lisa changed
exciting.
my life,
Yeah.
um, and there's so many others, and I think one of the things that I've been, for whatever reason, lucky to be open to receive some sort of experience, whether it was with Lisa the gardenista in her garden or working with some other people we know in different spaces, that I was saying, "Oh, wait, I can do this." And if I do it and then I say, "Oh, whoa, I just had a seismic experience," I've looked at myself as a channel of sorts to bring other people into that. And so at this point with Lisa, the healer, I've lost track, but it's somewhere in the numbers of 40 plus people that I've sent her away. And there are other things along that line where I've done, okay, you friend are suffering. It doesn't have to be that way. Let me introduce you. And I feel
Agree with you completely. Yeah, completely. So you are a healer working in your own little vortex
you
out
know,
there.
I'm something. I'm more of a connector. I think of healers as just, I feel like I'm not gifted with that skill, but I have my own alchemist powers. My
Yes, and but that skill doesn't necessarily mean healing physically. It has so much
True.
depth to
It's
be a
not.
healer. To be a healer has so much
No.
depth. It's yeah. She's a different kind, but I like to think of all of us who are trying to make changes and help as healers,
Need it,
educators.
right? We need it, otherwise, well,
We
what
do.
happens is the collective pain and trauma just drags us into the ground, and I think that that is not what life was meant to be,
No, we have to release the
yeah,
universal pain body and the universal fear body because what we've all been done is wrangled into this fearfulness, and we do have to break out because that's when we really take control of our inner
uh,
power. Fear holds us back in every
I
sense.
wanted to make a documentary about fear. I think it's a super interesting subject, and I haven't really figured out how to approach it and how to tell it, but I the title I want is Fear Itself, and
Well, let's discuss that because that's a
it's
big
huge, and
topic.
I think especially, this administration is all about scaring us and all about so
Of course,
this
that's
is
their
bread and butter.
it's a
They're
it's a it's a big one though, because once you get people afraid, you've got
but
control.
we had a president like Franklin Delano Roosevelt who said, "There's nothing to fear but fear itself." And that's the title,
For
Fear
itself.
Itself, and I think that, and I think it's important with fear to recognize that everybody's afraid of something. Indiana Jones is afraid of snakes. People who are rock climbers are afraid of this. The people are, there's it's all but to channel it, to understand it, to not let it overwhelm us is really essential, especially as I think there's more and more stuff to be that are trying to scare you. And I do think, like I said, that the film is an idea and a title, but not much more than that. The films I'm try to work on now are a little more grounded, but somewhere out there, I'd like to make a film about fear.
Well, you have taken the first step by creating
Right.
this festival and, grounding people, bringing people together so they can speak open-mindedly. Um, that really is the first
I
step.
feel it. Um, I'm glad that what's that
People know they're not alone. People know they're not alone.
such a world of difference. It's such a world of difference when people feel that and it's their own affirmation of, "Oh, I'm not the only one feeling this. I'm not the only one concerned about this." And as they say, more together, we're better off as we work together towards these things. And I think this gathering of ours and original thinkers in Telluride, Colorado, boy, the light really just keeps on. I love it's right.
It's okay. I mean, it's
It's
yeah,
cool,
it's
right?
kinda psychedelic. I'm like, "Are you
Yeah,
coming?
exactly.
Are
I
you
can
go?"
really so for us, it's saying, let's gather, let's be together, let's be in this beautiful place, let's go deeper, let's be vulnerable, let's allow ourselves to be healthier. And one of the things that we're doing here, which I'm really excited about, is something called the Telluride Men's Health Club. And this Telluride is just it's kind of the start of it, but we lost a couple of men in this valley this year to that were preventable deaths. People who were ostensibly healthy, who could climb up a mountain no problem, but had a ticking heart or had a something like that. And I think particularly in the mountains, there's sort of a tough guy thing that, "Oh, I don't need a doctor. I don't need"
I don't
and
need a doctor.
look, I met Lisa the healer because doctors at Cedar Sinai said to me the only I had very unusual feet, and they said the only way to fix them was surgery. Okay, you're the doctor, you're the expert, you're the guy in the white coat saying and 6 weeks non-weight bearing per foot, both feet had to be worked 'cause I had super high arches, and a friend of mine told me, I have a friend, her name's Lisa, you should talk to her." I showed her my feet on Zoom, we were in different places, said, "Come out here, immerse, we'll fix him." Changed my life because 6 weeks on crutches, 3 months on crutches would have wrecked my life. I would be a shell of who I am.
Yeah, atrophy your
Would
entire
It
body would
would
atrophy.
stoop, I'm 6'6", would have just fallen in on itself. Instead, I get this thing, and so I think with traditional or Western medicine, it's flawed in a bunch of ways. At the same point, it's good to have a colonoscopy when you're at a certain age, know that there isn't cancer growing in there. It's good to have a PSA test. These are not hard things to do. And so the idea of the Men's Health Club is to create something where we can all be in allyship and brotherhood and say, hey, you need a colonoscopy. I need a colonoscopy. Let's find a couple other people. Let's go book some. We're in a small town. We can't do them. And let's help each other out. Let's encourage each other. Let's be there in brotherhood and allyship. And men are particularly notorious for not wanting to go to the doctors. I get it. And by the way, it doesn't mean that everything they say is right. I mean, surgeons want to cut open my feet. It would wreck my life. So, but at the same point, there are some things we can do to know that we don't have skin cancer on our back when you live in the mountains, to know that, um, our prostates and our colons and our hearts are healthy enough.
It's just being
That's
aware. It's being
the
aware of your
And so
body.
that's really exciting and it's something that I'll be really curious to see how it unfolds.
Yeah, I think, awareness and critical thinking
It's
are a
natural,
great
and I think
combination.
those 2 have to go hand in hand, and
Absolutely. Heart, mind, right?
so
It
it'll
all
be
goes hand
interesting
in
to
hand.
see how that goes. I feel like a lot of stuff we're doing.
I think it's a brilliant idea, actually. There's so many women's gatherings, it's like almost every day. I think the men need that same sort of support, and men are less likely
Because
to
we're
reach out
tough,
for it.
because we're whatever, especially in the mountains, especially in a small town like this.
Bad guys, especially
We're
mountain
gonna
men.
open that up and see how that goes. The other thing we're doing. Thank you, I
But
appreciate it.
beautiful.
I just was when this friend died. Wait, that didn't have to happen. Okay. How do we try and prevent some unpreventable deaths? The other thing we're doing, and one of the preventable deaths in my life that was close to me was my father. He was a well-known diplomat named Richard Holbrooke, who was when he died, it was on the front page of the newspapers. I made a movie about him called The Diplomat on on HBO. And my
And he tell us a little bit about his story because it's pretty fascinating. I mean, he worked under 6 or 7 presidents.
Every Democratic president from Kennedy on, so Kennedy, Johnson, Carter, Clinton, and Obama. And in some cases, very
Mhm.
high levels. He was Clinton's ambassador to the UN. He led the effort, the American effort to end the war in the Balkans and Bosnia in the mid-90s that was killing hundreds of thousands of people, and this ethnic cleansing and horrific slaughters of people. And my father was both smart enough and tough enough to be the man who said, "Wait, we're gonna bring an end to this," and he really did. And then he worked for President Obama in Afghanistan and Pakistan, the State Department in DC, trying to end the war there, and it didn't work. He wasn't successful at it, and the stress of it and the intensity of it killed him. He died of an aortic dissection at the age of 69, and a harder thing to prevent, but yet a very preventable death if my father had been willing to say, "Ooh, I'm under a lot of stress. Ooh, this isn't right. Something's not right in me. I gotta go see somebody and do a full workup." But because of the pressures of Washington, DC, he couldn't, and so he died this preventable death, and that's part of my inspiration for the Telluride Men's Health Club. One of the things we're doing at Original Thinkers this year, which is surreal and futuristic and weird is working with a company called Reflecta, and Reflecta is a, company that says their tagline is "Connect past," PASSED, like he passed the salt, past to the present,
Right.
and so as people who have died, you input information about them, images, voice recordings, all this background, and then AI takes this. Remember I said we don't do a lot, we do more emotional intelligence, human-powered intelligence than artificial, but a friend of mine is the president of this company and said, "Hey, we should try this at Original Thinkers." So we're gonna set up a conversation with my father who died in 2010, a live conversation with all the stuff we've inputted of obituaries, and, he was on Charlie Rose 50 some odd times. And I see your face, yeah, I feel the same way, and so it's gonna be surreal, it's gonna be bizarre, but it's gonna be I trust my friend to say, "Hey." we should do this. So, as my son said to me when I told him about this, he said, to quote Jurassic Park, just because we can do something,
Doesn't mean we should.
here we are, and I feel isn't it
Let's
fascinating?
see.
And
Yeah, and I also think it depends on, I agree with what your son said, but there's an element that's left out. It always depends on who the programmer is, right? With AI, like you need to know who's behind it because that's where it gets its
I agree.
quote unquote soul.
Let's see, and
So
and
let's
and I
see.
I am excited about it, nervous about it, curious about it, and I wouldn't have said yes to
Of
putting in the
course.
program if I thought Eh, if there wasn't something hopeful about this. I can see how that comfort could come around, but it's gonna be surreal, and I told you my mother's coming. My folks when I was young, and I'll see if she wants to tune into it, if she's gonna be her own sort of like, "Son, what are you doing bringing back my ex-husband?" But, eh, we're gonna give it a shot, and it's certainly
I think it's
fascinating.
fascinating.
After that, we'll see, but I'm open to receive. I'm open to say,
Again, it's
"Thank you,"
it's and it's brave. It's courageous and it's brave, and it could ultimately end up being extremely beautiful. And if
that's
it
exactly
doesn't,
right,
you put it to
and I
bed.
think it's another deep characteristic of original thinkers is that bravery, that sense of, "Oh, wait, I"
We have to explore the unknown, David. We
and they
absolutely have
are
to.
or Theo McCord, who are the people taught in Iboga, often talk about, embrace the mystery, explore the mystery, step into it and say,
Embrace
"Okay, that's worth doing," and I think at this time in our civilization, in our country, in our own lives, being, in touch with the mystery is a lot of, creates a lot of positive power and a lot of energy that you say, "Oh, wait, I've gone to some place that was mysterious and uncertain, and I came back and I'm the richer." Not the money, not any of the richer of the soul, the richer
No.
the more. And when I say power, I don't mean like, "Oh, I
Power,
want
the
power."
now.
No. I am infused with something that creates good and creates something worthwhile.
It's
That's
abundance.
right.
It's an abundance of riches
Or scarcity.
as opposed to wealth.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So now what we're gonna try to do, usually our podcasts like air and then we film them and then we air them 3 weeks in advance. We're gonna try to
Oh,
turn around and get this out tomorrow. We're not making promises, but Haley's
thank
looking at
you.
me right now. She's like, "We're gonna get it done." We're gonna get it done. I just want to say this is really an honor because we are very much aligned and like-minded, and I think what you're doing is spectacular. And if I could create a group of people around myself, you definitely be one of them because I think it's so important, as we said, like bringing abundance into other people's lives, sharing your knowledge. Plus, your history is also very
Oh,
rich,
thank
and so I think you are a game changer.
That's kind, and I laugh because I guess maybe I'm a little embarrassed, but I try to do the work that I do because I believe in the people we're bringing here can turn on the people who are here in ways that we really need to be turned on, especially when things are as funky and not right, and I say, "Okay, wait, let's lift some spirits. Let's find some place where we can all be together and say, 'Hey, that was a weekend that I'm gonna carry with me for a while.'"
Well, humility is a superpower,
Thank
and
you.
it's one you certainly seem to have.
I'm so grateful that you had me on the show and that it's really kind of you to do this.
It's an honor. David, tell us how and our listeners how they reach you or they find the
Sure.
festival. And if you're doing regional thing off the line, that they could sign up.
Pretty simple. I'll put it this way, Telluride is not easy to get to. Our hotel lodging situation is not ideal, and that there are a lot of in town and all of that.
It
But,
isn't.
if people wanna come out, I'm at davidoriginalthinkers.com, and I respond to everybody, and I also, there is stuff we're doing online, there is stuff that but I think also look at the people we brought and say, "Hey, I'm really having trouble with this authoritarian country. I wanna go to
Yes,
Buddhist
go
wisdom and
directly.
invisible threads. Oh, wait, I'm having trouble processing what's going on with climate." Look up Auden Schindler, who I didn't even mention, who has this book, Terrible Beauty, or Rachel Kolar and Orfeo, they're accessible, or equine therapy with down the road. These people are there, and they're not hard to find, and we make them easy to find, and I think that people who tune into this and say, "Wait, I'm feeling some of this dread or this anxiety," our people are there for you, and whether you're coming here, wonderful, introduce yourself, say hi, I'm easy to find, but also tune into what those folks are doing. I think, we all need help. We all Hey, I appreciate
We'll
that.
put their links out there too.
Hey, back at you. What a nice thing to
I
do.
appreciate you.
Next time you're here, we're gonna go hang out, we're gonna go for a hike, we're gonna do perfect. Well, we're gonna go
I'll
sleep.
be there this
I can't
winter.
wait.
Yeah. You and those feet of yours, we're gonna get you out on the mountain. Thanks to Lisa. Okay, darling, you have a wonderful day and good luck this weekend.
Cheers.
Blessings. Bye.